Welcome to the Parking Lot Podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about your name. No, my name. No, your name. Welcome to the Parking Lot Podcast. I am T, and this is.
And I'm. Oh, I thought I got to introduce myself, but go ahead, introduce me.
This is Mo.
Hey guys, I'm the person T just said.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about anime that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and that's
For a long while.
Oh yeah, a long while.
Since before we started the podcast, right?
Yeah, and it's called Your Name. It's an anime from Japan. It's made by Makoto Shinkai, and I watched this around I think January, February time period. So a year after it came out, and my friend said, "Oh, you should."
You saw it a year after it came out. I thought we saw it around the same time when it came out.
It came out in
2016.
Yeah, 2016. So a little longer.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
So when I watched this, I didn't know a lot about it, and my friend said, "Hey, you need to watch this movie." And I was like, "You know what? I'll give it a shot." So then when I watched it, it just kind of it was very comedic. It was very funny. It had a lot of serious moments too. So it was able to juggle those two things, right? Being very serious and very funny. And it's also a beautiful movie to watch.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and if you don't know, it's a 2D with a little bit of computer graphics in there too. But it's traditionally 2D drawn, and it blows me away. I haven't seen anything like this in the Western animation, because it's just so beautiful. Imagine Disney's creating some good stuff, but it holds nothing to this movie. And Shinkai is very good at portraying different things, and
but Disney's moving, and American animation is moving really away from 2D animation. So it's not like they're even trying to compete in the space anymore.
Yeah.
So you can compare this to the photorealistic 3D movies that they got. Even though I don't like it, but The Good Dinosaur, that has some amazing photorealistic backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
So, but 2D, they gave up on it, and I think Japan is still going strong with that, because this looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're merging two things into it, right? They're putting 2D animation and also computer animation in it, and it doesn't look like computer animation. It just
because they have the money in this one, but usually when they mix those two, it's not good.
Yeah,
it's really not good. But I actually didn't notice what parts were computer animated with this, but about the tone that you were talking about, you said this was very funny and very serious.
Yeah,
I would say for me, it wasn't either one of those. It wasn't it was more pleasant and sweet, right?
Yeah.
So
it's just the certain things that the characters do and how they interact. It was just hilarious. It's just you're sitting there, you're oh,
I personally would never not use the word hilarious. I would say it was charming and sweet, made me feel good. But I mean, come on, I wasn't laughing, and I wasn't all at the edge of my seat with the dramatic, serious elements.
Yeah,
it was, and that's not a criticism. That's just it's amazing that a movie like that could be such a big deal. There was so much. You were talking about this a little bit. There was so much buzz about this movie when it first came out.
Yeah,
and people were saying it's the greatest anime that ever was, and it smashed the box office records in Japan.
Yeah,
and it's got a box office of 358 million, which I don't know how that compares to other anime, but I think that's huge. That's like it's probably one of the biggest blockbusters in anime in a while, right?
Yeah, and like the thing is, this did better than Spirited Away, which is considered the top anime like in the Western
Box
market.
office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
It did
it's
better in the Western market, or did it better in Japan, or overall?
I think overall, I think it's overall it grows
Box office
higher of
wise.
all time in Japan.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well, Spirited Away was like 17 years ago.
yeah,
So I think, well, I mean, that's not too long ago, but yeah, no, I believe it. This is a huge deal. Everyone was talking about it.
yeah. So for people who don't know the story, I'm just gonna go through like a little quick summary of the whole thing. So
Hmm.
it's set in Japan. If you watch the beginning of it, it kind of like gives a little bit away, but you won't notice that until like you've
Oh,
watched it a couple times.
the TV show style intro in the
Yeah,
beginning of it. Yeah, I thought that was weird.
yeah. Like I didn't notice that they mostly gave away most of the story, and it was kind of like at one point you when you see it when the two characters see each other,
Yeah,
that moment that they see each other, it starts the movie, and it's like flashback kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So this movie has two characters, and they one is Taki, and the other is
Mitsuha.
Mitsuha. Yeah, and you meet these two characters, and in the beginning, it's like Freaky Friday. They're in each other's body,
Yeah, they wake
and
up in each other's bodies.
yeah. So you start off with Taki, which is the male character in Mitsuha's body, and you see how he's dealing with it, and then you see Mitsuha in Taki's body,
Hmm.
and how she does her day, right? And
But there's a little
people,
bit of a difference, though.
yeah,
A lot of times when they do the Freaky Friday thing, they're two characters that know each other, and the whole switching bodies thing is a way of being in each other's shoes and having like empathy for each other. But this one, they don't know each other at all. Like they're like, who is this random body that I'm in now, right? In
yeah,
this random place.
and then you see them go through that whole day, right? And they both think it's like kind of a dream, and you see them go through a day and see them interact with their friends and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
then
they're basically trying to act normal, even though because they think it's a dream at first, right? So they're
yeah,
trying to act normal. They're like, oh, I'm just going to go with it, and then slowly it dawns on them that, oh my god, this is real. This is not
yeah,
a dream.
yeah, and then they go back into the bodies the next day, and then they have to deal with the fact that this other person was in their body, and they're like, what happened? Oh,
What
did
did you
I do
do?
that? You know, like they're so confused because they think
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
dream, but they were like, oh, you were acting so weird, and you're like, what? What's that?
You're acting
What was
really
that?
weird.
Yeah,
The girl, it's like your hair is really messy, and like you're acting a lot more like less shy and a little more aggressive and confused. And for the guy, people are like, why are you acting so feminine? You know,
yeah, and
that's some of my favorite parts. I like those parts.
I like that part where he's sitting. Taki is sitting and talking to all of his friends, but Mitsuha's in the body,
Okay.
and she's kind of saying like "I" in a
Oh
feminine
yes,
way, and then he's
yes,
just like, and he keeps switching it, and then
yeah,
he
yeah.
goes more masculine way of saying "I," and then they're like, "Oh, okay," you know.
I liked it. I did find it funny, even though it had to be translated. You had to put like little brackets and say masculine, feminine, right?
Yeah,
But I still got it. Like it was a good beat, and it worked well in translation as well.
yeah.
I
So
like I liked I liked when Taki in Mitsuha's body apparently has been flirting with some other girl, and then And then Mitsuha the next day, the girl comes and like gives her like a card or a present or something, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Why is this random girl in love with me?"
Yeah, and they kind of mess up like they're not in relationships, but they just mess up everything, and it's kind of
Yeah,
funny. Yeah,
they like Taki in Mitsu's body is a little more aggressive, and he doesn't stand for like the the rumors and the things that girls are saying. Like he kicked over his easel, his drawing easel,
yeah.
when all the all the girls were like talking about him, and people were like, "What the hell happened to you?" He's like super aggressive in basketball, and in Mitsuha in Taki's body, she finds this girl that she imagined that Taki works with, and she thinks, oh, he must really like her. So she starts like getting a friendship with her, which seems like flirting with her.
Yeah.
And then and she sets him up on a date, and he's just like, "Why are you messing up my love life?"
And he's like so confused, and then they're like, how they're communicating after they find out that they're in each other's body is that they keep a diary on their phones.
Oh yes,
So
yes. So they do communicate, but they can't call each other. They just kind of leave messages on each other's phones.
yeah, and you see at one point that they do try to call each other, but it just doesn't work. And
It doesn't go through.
yeah. And at that point, that's when like when I was watching this, I didn't clue in. Like I saw like the comment in the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." It didn't clue in to me until right at the end, and that's when all the emotion came.
What didn't clue in?
It didn't clue in that like Mitsuha died.
Oh, really? No, he was looking at the obituaries from the thing, and he saw that he saw her friends. Was it Tessie and
Yeah.
Jesse, something like that? And then he saw her name, so they showed her obituary.
Yeah, but like when you're watching and you see her like looking up at the comet at the during the festival, and the comet's going by, and then you hear bong, and then like he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, we never switch bodies again," and then I was like, "Oh no, she's dead." You know, like it didn't clue into me until that, and it was just like it's a downward spiral after that. It was just like, oh man, and it was so good. Like everything was so funny up until that point, and then I was just like, oh man, it just got serious, and I liked how it went. It was very moving. So then after you see Taki trying to figure out where Mitsuha is, so tries to
track her down because
tries to track it down.
Because they stopped switching places, right?
Yeah.
So like what was the trigger? I think it was when the day before the meteor, the comet.
Yeah.
Taki as Mitsuha goes to do that ceremony where they put the sake, the spit sake.
Yeah.
And they put the spit sake in the in that little shrine, and then the very next day the comet hits. So I think when the comet hit, it's like that's the end of their switching bodies.
Yeah.
So when they stop switching bodies, he's like, "Man, what's going on? Like, how come we're not switching bodies? I need to find this girl."
Yeah.
So I think that's the midpoint of the movie. Probably the first act finishes when they figure out that this is for real and they're switching bodies with each other.
Yeah.
And then the midpoint is when Taki finds out that, oh, you know what? That girl that I've been talking to died 3 years ago, and I've basically been traveling in time and switching bodies at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is a nice twist. I didn't expect
there's
that.
like a 3 hour, no, I mean a 3 year gap.
Yep.
So when Taki is
Mhm.
talking to Mitsuha. Mitsuha, it's like three. I think it's like 3 year difference between them.
Yep, 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's the midpoint. And that's when everything kind of changes. So he travels down to Itumori, and no one can find any trace of it. And then he realized because the comet obliterated the place, so it doesn't actually exist anymore. And so he took his two friends. He went down to that area, and everyone thinks he's kind of crazy, but they kind of go with it. One thing I liked is like the idea that when you find somebody that you love, like someone that you made that connection with, it like changes you,
yeah,
like it changes your personality, changes the way you are, and it's like evident from people around you. They're like, "Huh, you found somebody." It's like, "How did you know that?" It's like I just tell from you're a different person now. Like that when you find the one that you love, it like changes you and makes you a different person.
yeah,
And I'm like, that's interesting. That's pretty sweet.
yeah,
That's the thing. This movie is just really sweet, you know? It's not in any extreme of anything. It's not like funny, it's not dramatic, it's not like epic, none of that stuff. It's just very charming and sweet.
yeah. And this is a movie that like I've watched numerous times. So I think this is what maybe my third, fourth time watching it,
Hmm.
and I'm not bored. Like I'm not bored watching it. I'm like very captivated by it, right? And it's a beautiful movie. Like if I'm
Hmm.
watching
It's
like
well paced.
yeah, it's well paced too, and you you grab something each time you watch it, right? So if you watch, for me, like when I watch like Avengers: Infinity War and all those superhero movies, they're really good, but they're good for maybe like one watch, two watches, and then if you watch it again, you're like, like it's I'm not gonna really get anything from it. It's a good story, but it's not really has like a deep meaning, like
Oh.
Thanos destroying people. There's no deeper meaning than what he's doing. You
Who,
understand it
Thanos?
that one first time, yeah.
I don't know. I totally disagree with that. I think this movie doesn't have as much meaning. And I think something like Infinity War, that I mean I'm not saying it's like incredibly complicated, but I think that has like some layers. I think this movie executes its themes better because it doesn't have to fit 20,000 characters. It's just like basically two main characters and like maybe like six supporting characters, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't put down Infinity War.
No,
Infinity War has a lot of things going on,
it
and this
is.
movie is
Yeah.
not like crazy deep to me anyway. It's
Oh.
it's it's like and we could differ on that. It's just I really like it, and I think it's really nice, but it's not like it didn't change my mind about anything. It didn't like there was no paradigm shift when I watched it.
Yes. It's true.
Is it true? I thought, but I
But
thought it had a more of an impact to you.
no, it has like to me it like when I'm watching it, like uh you can see different like it just speaks to whoever like watches it, right? Like, and there's a lot of things that it's trying to say, and you can take like a lot of different things each time you watch it. So that's what I think about the movie.
Okay, right on. Yeah.
So then, before we continue on, that one scene when like they're both waking up in each other's bodies, and
Yeah.
like when Taki's waking up in Mitsuha's body, and like she looks down and she looks around and then she looks down and she's like, "What is this on my
Oh,
chest?"
he looks down. Yeah, and he
Yeah,
sees the breasts.
yeah. And then he's like, "What?" And then he touches it, and then as he's touching it, his sister comes in and opens up the door,
Yeah.
and sees him doing that. Like sees the sister doing that, and I think almost every day that she is,
That Taki wakes up as Mitsuha.
yeah, that Taki's waking up as Mitsuha, he's touching her boobs.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, like every
I thought that
single
was
scene.
I thought it was really well made. Like at first, he's like confused, and then he's like fondling the boobs, and then the second time and the third time, and then when they start kind of like because they have to deal with each other and they have to know about each other's lives, right? So
Yeah,
they get to like know each other on like a very personal level, even though they never met.
yeah,
And then he's like, and he wakes up one morning and he's about to touch himself, and then he's like, you know what? I shouldn't. This is wrong,
yeah,
right? But then it cuts directly to the sister opening the door, and then he is doing it like it's such a teenage boy kind of thing. It's like he has conviction for like 5 seconds, and then he's like, whatever. and then and then when they finally do a body switch again after a long time,
yeah,
and he's like he starts following himself, but it's not like he's like crying. He's just like so happy that like that she's okay and that he's in her body, right?
yeah,
That like she didn't die. That he's crying while he's following himself, and it's just like
yeah.
I thought it was really clever and really really funny.
And then the sister comes in, and then she's crying and following herself at the same time. Sees
Like,
the
what is
sister and rushes to her, and then like the sister's like slams the door and is like, "Oh man, she's crazy. She's
Yeah.
she's gone nuts." You know?
Going to the grandma's my sister's gone nuts. Like she's finally off the deep end. I love that. That's actually probably the funniest part of the whole movie.
Yeah,
That was really funny. It's funny that like basically a fondling scene is funny and really well done instead of creepy. You know?
yeah,
It's amazing that they pulled that off.
yeah. And then when Mitsuha takes over Taki's body, because Mitsuha is from like a small little town, and Taki's from Tokyo, so those things are like those are totally different. And Mitsuha wants to move to Tokyo. You know, like she wants to move there,
She
and
wants that big city life. Like they don't even have like a coffee shop, like
yeah,
a cafe. And
they have a vending machine in the middle of nowhere.
yeah.
Which
The
is
closest thing to a
actually-
cafe is a vending machine.
Yeah, yeah. So when she first takes over Taki's body, they like she walks around and sees Tokyo, and then like she meets up with her friends, and then like goes to a cafe and eats all this food, right? All the like the desserts and all that, and she takes pictures of them all, and like she drinks coffee, where she wouldn't have that where she was from. So each time she's taking over his body, they're always like she's always eating something, you know, eating dessert, spending money on dessert. And then she says to like Taki's like, why are you working so much, you know? And she's like, and he's like, well, it's because you're spending so much money on dessert. You're eating all my money, so I have to pick up more shifts. So that's why I thought it was funny.
No, I like that. That they had a montage where it would show like little moments in how they would be in each other's bodies. Yeah, she's really enjoying it. Like she imagined the city life as like this beautiful thing, and when she gets there, she sees like all the amazing like modern Tokyo life. Right? She
Yeah.
absolutely loves it. And when he gets into her body, he notices all the amazing like natural beauty of the area with that valley and the lake and all this amazing stuff. So there's that duality of like they're from two different worlds, and they get to kind of both appreciate the best parts of the world. And it's funny because like they don't show the drawbacks of each place, right?
Yeah.
Which I liked. I think it wouldn't have added to the movie to show like, you know, the like if Mitsuha was bored in her town, Taki was never bored in her town. And if Taki thought that his town was that his city was too hectic and, you know, too modern, she didn't think that at all. So it was just like they got to experience the best part of each other's lives, which I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and so the whole movie has a really cool way of visually showing the duality of these two characters.
Yeah.
So the screen is a lot of times split in half between two different sections. Every time they go through like any type of like threshold, like they go through a door, they go through walking onto a train and things like that, the screen is split half, and you see the door from the side, and it bisects the image in half.
Yeah.
So they do that throughout the whole film, showing a lot of really cool imagery. When they talk to each other, they're on either side of the screen. When they finally in the climax of the movie, when they, or I guess, climax movie for me, when they finally meet each other during the twilight
Yeah.
period on the mountain, I thought that scene was very well directed. It was very nice, like you would see Mitsuha's side where the lake is intact and there's no comet damage, and then you'd see Taki's side, and then there's like in the background, it looks almost the exact same time of day, same color, except you get to see the destruction that the comet made because it's 3 years later, right?
Yeah.
So really cool, like thought out, well executed imagery.
Yeah, and like during that scene, they also had like the divide of light, so you can
Oh
see
yeah,
like the kind of like the shimmer of light, and it's like a kind of like a line all the way down. So you do see that evident divide between the two.
yep, yep. And when they reach out for each other, I think when they move their hand, there's a lens flare from the light behind their hand. So I
Yeah.
think that's supposed to mean that they like can like feel each other. It's like a visual way of showing that they can like feel each other's presence
Yeah.
because you get to see the lens flare suddenly appear behind their hand. I like that. There's a lot of really cool imagery in this whole movie, and like the braided cords representing time and how time is twisted and overlaps itself, and it's not like a straight line.
Yeah.
I really like that, and the fact that they had the, what do they call that sake that they spit into, and then half
Yeah, it
of
was
them is in it.
it's a Kuchi Kamezaki. That's what
Yeah, something like
like
that, right?
I probably just butchered that, but
Yeah,
it's like a ritual alcohol where they take rice, they put it in their mouth, like they chew it, and then they spit it into like
a container,
a container,
and
and that's
it
how.
naturally it naturally ferments into sake.
Yeah.
So within the 3 years of when she put it and when he got there, it turned into sake, and
Yeah.
then half of her was in it. So when he drank it, it reignited it restarted the body switching thing that had stopped when the comet ended, when the
Yeah.
comet crashed, right?
Yeah.
So I like that. It's so well done. I love the the cord that she gives him, and then he wraps around his wrist, and he doesn't really know why. I like when they were forgetting each other. Like it's so, and the title makes so much sense. Your name, because they keep trying to remember each other's name. And I know it was cheesy, but I loved when she looked what he wrote on her hand, and it says "I love you." Like this is really sweet,
Yeah. And
and that's what I'm saying. I never felt at any point in this movie, oh, that's cheesy. It
yeah.
was authentic, and they really pulled off this theme of connection.
Yeah. And one of my favorites is the chord, and you were talking about it, is in if you take a look at the chord, it's like red, and as it gets closer to the middle, it changes color, and it's like kind of the divide. And like the grandmother was talking about how it time always goes together, connects, and then separates, but in the end it will always come back together.
So in the end, it doesn't really matter. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh yeah.
So I'm a little bit of Linkin Park in this movie.
Yeah.
Uh, no, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I love that point of it. Would you say there's any drawbacks to the movie? Like any criticisms you have? Anything you want to see changed?
No. I kind of like, in a way, I wanted to see more at the end.
Mm.
Interaction between like Taki and Mitsuha when they reconnected, but
Hmm.
like I'm okay without, because how they ended was how I expected it to be,
I mean, how
and
would they end it? I think you're right. It's better that they left it on that end, because anything after that would be kind of anticlimactic. What, they would just go on a date or something? Like, the point is that they reach each other, and then it ends with the last words, "Your name," right? Your
yeah,
name is, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
and the thing is like, so yeah, so like Taki goes, like when Taki is trying to figure out like what happened to Mitsuha, and he goes into that like cavern and drinks that sake from her, and then when they meet, um, during that twilight period, and they both see each other, she's like, "Why are you here? Like how can I see you?" And he's like, "I drank your sake." And he's like, "What, you
she's like, "You
drank?"
pervert."
Yeah, it's like, you what? You drank something that I put in my mouth and just spat out? Like that's disgusting, you know? Like it's so at that moment I was like, oh, that's kind of funny, you know? Like, yeah. But the last part of the movie is all about Mitsuha trying to convince her father and the whole town to
Yeah.
like get out, you know, like to go to the high school so that they don't get hurt, because she knows what's gonna happen.
Yes.
So she's trying to um, get everybody to safety, right?
Yep.
And I think at that, was there many scenes with Taki at that time?
Well, okay, so half of those scenes were Taki in Mitsuha's body,
Yeah,
and the other half were Mitsuha in her own body. But I think I know where you're going with this. You're saying that, like, you wouldn't get enough Taki time, right?
yeah,
And actually, I thought that the first time. I thought, oh, we didn't get enough of his backstory. We didn't get. It was mostly Mitsuha's story. The main action is all in her town, and
yeah,
but watching it again the second time, I think I think screen time,
yeah,
it's pretty close to even, regardless of what body they're in, but it's kind of even. But but I think we get to know Mitsuha's family and town better, right?
yeah,
With Taki, you only get to know his two friends. You see his dad once, I think, and then you get to know the girl he works with, right?
yeah,
So technically three friends, and that's it. Well, well, Mitsuha, you get to know her sister, her grandma, her dad, two of her friends, the whole town. You get to know like the festival she goes to, all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
So even though they have 50-50 screen time, it did feel very Mitsuha heavy for a movie that's like trying to be very split in half, trying to be 50-50, trying to be mirrored, you know?
yeah,
So I think that was a criticism I had the first time, and I felt less of it the second time. I don't know.
yeah. And like after that, when they see each other, you know, Taki's being like, you know, I'm gonna remember you, and they like write, um, he writes something on her hand, and then she writes about to write something on his, and then the twilight ends, and they go back to normal, and then you see at that time Taki's like, I'm gonna remember you, you know, and says her name like I think
Yeah.
what 3 or 4 times. So I'm gonna
Yep.
remember you, and then all of a sudden he's just like, why am I here? Why am I on top of a mountain?
Who are you?
Who are you? You know,
Yeah.
and then you see the same thing with Mitsuha, who's like running, and she's like, I'm gonna remember you too, you know, and just says that, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
in the end, it kind of like, I think she was like running to get everyone evacuated, and then she falls. And as she wakes up, she opens her hand and she sees what like Taki wrote, which was like "I love you," I think.
Mhm.
And then like all the memory, just like enough memory came back, and then like she got everyone to safety. And then from
Yeah,
there, you see like a jump forward. So you jump forward, I think, 5 years, and you see like
yeah,
Taki growing up, and then you see Mitsuha grown up, and then they're continuously like they're going through everything, but they're still like looking at their hand, and they talk a lot more about like what happened with the comet. So
hmm,
the comet hit the town, but like nobody nobody died because they were running a drill at the same time, so nobody got hurt. So I
hmm.
thought that was interesting that he was able to like go back, change a little bit
A
instead
lot.
of
Like he's
yeah
basically hundreds of people's lives were saved,
yeah
right? No, I like that a lot. I liked when you mentioned when she was writing her name on his hand,
yeah
and it's like this amazing moment. And you're like, okay, now they're gonna remember each other. And then before she finishes writing, the pen just drops because the twilight's over.
yeah
Like a lot of good cuts in this movie, like where something would happen and it would cut to a different scene, and it would be like it would give like a bit of an impact, and I really like that. That was one of my favorites. It's just like she's writing it, and then it just cuts to like her disappearing, and it falls down, and you're just like, and it's like this pause, and it's kind of quiet.
yeah
Really good sound mixing, really good directing overall. Like I really loved and there's I can't remember all of them, but there's a quite a few moments of really good cuts throughout the whole movie. It was and that's the thing. Like at the end, this movie is a cheesy premise. It's not there's not a whole lot going on. It's not complicated, but it's executed so well that you don't even question things like what is the magic thing, right? Like why is this happening? You don't ever really question that.
yeah
You don't really question, when he tries to show his friends, like when they're like, oh, this town was destroyed 3 years ago. He's like, that's not true. I have her text messages, and he pulls out his phone, and then it starts deleting at that moment.
yeah
You're like, that doesn't make any sense, right?
yeah
There's a lot of stuff that don't make sense, but it's so well executed that you don't actually care. And I don't really want an answer to that, right? It's
yeah
just I'm just like it's just expertly done. So this is what it looks like when simple cheesy premises are done really well. You don't even care. You don't care about the cheesiness. You don't care about the simplicity. It's just sweet.
yeah. They took something that was like really like the plot's not complicating. It's like you can watch it at any time and understand it really easily, but it's just well done. Like it's very
Absolutely.
simple story that's well done.
So what's your final verdict on the movie?
I like it. I liked it a lot, and
What
I
would you
would
give it as a rating?
I don't know. I'll give it like I'll like 10 or like out of 5.
Whichever you prefer.
So like out of 10, I'll give it like maybe 8.5.
Yeah, right. I'm
Maybe.
still surprised. I thought you would give it like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's,
I think it would be
it's,
higher, but yeah, like
I think
yeah.
because I said if there's anything you'd want to improve in it, you're like, nope, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's
Like
perfect. It's a perfect movie.
so,
That
8.5 is a perfect movie for you.
yeah. No, nothing can be a 10, Nothing's a 10.
Nothing's a 10.
Nothing's a 10.
What about Incredibles 1?
It's not a 10.
What about Toy
There's
Story 3?
it's not a 10. Nothing's
What
a 10,
about
man. Nothing's a 10.
what about The Dark Knight?
Oh man. That's like it's like a 9,
All right, no, that's good. That's good. You got a very strict
Yeah,
rating
nothing's a
system.
10. Nothing can
Yeah,
be a 10.
yeah. For
Nothing.
me, I think it would be that 8 point. What did you say? 8.5? 8.1?
8.5, yeah.
8.5. I would say for me it's the same rating because I think it was sweet. It wasn't crazy deep, but it was like super well executed, and I really liked it.
Yeah. And like in the end, um where they're like living day by day but they're living their day, and both of the characters are like, like I feel like I'm searching for something, and like something's missing. And they keep looking at the hand that they wrote something on. They keep looking at it, and like both characters wake up and they both look at the hand, and they're both searching, kind of like for each other. So when they do, at the end, find each other, and then they do connect, and then the last thing they say, your name is, and then boom.
Your name is what? Your name is who? Your name is like a Slim Shady. That's how the movie ended, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. A white guy just shows up.
All right. On that note, do you know what time it is, T?
What time is it?
It's time for you to tell me what tickles your fancy.
Oh, tickle my fancy. So let's see. So this is a segment
what have you been watching, reading? What have you found interesting lately that you want to share with us?
So there are two things that I'm currently doing. I always do two.
I'll give you one.
Oh, I need to give you two.
Fine. This time I'll let you have two.
Okay. The first one is I'm currently playing through Spider-Man.
Yes.
The PS4 game, and it's really good. It's like everything you like when you read a comic book and you're reading like Spider-Man, you're like, this is dope. He's like spinning webs, like swinging from buildings.
Yeah. Is he catching thieves?
Yeah. It's like
Just like
so
Flash?
cool. Like the concept of Spider-Man is cool. His story is cool. His character is cool. His rogues gallery is cool. Everything's cool about that character.
Yeah, look out, man! Here comes the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you play the game, the amount of detail that they put into it, like he's swinging from the building, and he's actually swinging from the building. And the first time you do it, you kind of like hit buildings on the side and stuff like that. But it's so much fun, and like as you're going, you see like thieves, or you see like a burglary, and then or like a car chase, and then you chase after them. So it's kind of cool how it's like something, a character that I love, and then you can play as that character, and I enjoy it. Yeah, and we might be doing a podcast on that a little later.
Maybe one day, yeah.
Yeah, because that we can talk about like the story, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But
Excellent.
What tickles your fancy, Mo?
I thought you got two things.
No, I'll put the
we'll
second
go one by
after
one. Okay.
Yeah, one by one.
So if I'm going to do two things as well, because I'm not going to be outdone by you. So the Great British Bake Off is back. They're 3 episodes in. I mean, I don't have to tell anybody what the Great British Bake Off is, right? It's like the greatest show on television.
It's just like people baking, isn't it? Like you bake this, and then they bake.
Wow!
I think I've seen a couple episodes.
Wow! Way to reduce something fantastic to its bare elements. Okay, so you're not talking about the magic, the unbridled charm, and the humor, the heart, the competition. The skill involved in the show. This show is like, to call it a competition show or reality competition show is a kind of an insult. It's much more than that. It's an experience, and we wait every year for it. It's in the summer, and I think it's like one of the biggest TV shows in England, right? In Britain. But the Great British Bake Off, it is fantastic. The last episode was Bread Week, which is the week where they bake a whole bunch of bread stuff, and they did a non-challenge, non-bread, garlic naan without yeast, and it was epic, and almost every time they do this, you immediately attach yourself to the bakers, and you immediately like them, and you never really want anybody to leave. That's the thing, you like all of them, but you have your favorites. And when things go bad, it's just heartbreaking. But anyway, so Great British Bake Off, awesome. I can't wait for the rest of it. Y'all should check it out.
like, so we don't talk just about movies and TV shows. We also talk about cooking shows.
Again, you're reducing it to it's much more than that. But anyway, what's your second tickle your fancy?
So my second thing that I'm interested in like watching right now is like the one show that you continuously been trying to get me to watch over and over,
Yes.
and I got hooked. So like I'm like episode 5 of season 1, and that's The Expanse. It's kind of
The
cool.
Expanse. Yes.
And it's an
Yes.
interesting show because it's like space.
You're on episode 5?
Yeah, episode 5.
Okay.
Like it reminds me of Battlestar Galactica mixed with Firefly, you know, and so it's an interesting show and like interesting concept. Right?
It's I think it's the spiritual successor to Battlestar,
Yeah.
right? Like it basically learned all of the elements that made Battlestar amazing and then just like took them to another level. And I
Yeah.
love that. I love that about it. No, good
Yeah.
on you. That shows one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, and let's see if I can like I'm gonna try to finish season 1, but that show is it's like there's a lot to talk about. You know, it's
Oh,
yeah.
and there's a lot to study and research. Just don't get into spoilers because there's 3 seasons out and there's like 5 or 6 books out already.
Yeah.
So just avoid spoilers as much as you can.
Yeah.
But really quick, who's your favorite character so far?
I would say it's the. Oh no, this is it weird that it's like Mao is my favorite character, but Mao hasn't shown up since the first. Like
Are you talking about Julie or are you talking about
Julie,
Jules Pierre? Julie, okay.
Julie Mao. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean I can understand why she's your favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very clear.
Yeah.
But nice. All right, so my second thing, I'll do this real quick, is a show I've been binging like crazy. It's called Hunter x Hunter or Hunter x Hunter. Absolutely mind blowing. My favorite anime, hands down. Like I think it's beaten out all the. Well, okay, I haven't seen Full Metal Alchemist in a while, and Trigun in a while. And Trigun's maybe a bit dated now, but Hunter x Hunter is fantastic. Has the best, most nuanced villains. It's the kind of anime that like values story over everything else, and the magic system, the fighting system, the Nen system as they call it, is top notch and provides a lot of creative storytelling elements. It's very varied. Like they never stay in one thing too long. Like every arc is a completely different, like not a completely different genre, but different thing. Like they're not afraid of like basically going somewhere else and having a whole bunch of new characters. There's a million characters in the show and they're all amazing. So Hunter x Hunter, I made the mistake of downloading the Crunchyroll app, meaning that I could watch the show all the time, everywhere, whenever I sleep, whenever I wake up. So I may have lost some sleep over the show, but
Yeah, I remember you said to me, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna like pace myself with this, and I think you were on like episode 60 at the time, and you're like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm gonna pace myself, I'm gonna take a little break, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
that didn't
and
happen.
then like,
You know
yeah,
why?
2
Because
days
around
later,
episode-
I'm like episode 90.
because around episode 60, that's when the Chimera Ant arc started, and that is the best arc in all anime. It is fantastic. It's like 60 episodes long,
Yeah,
and it's by the end of it, I was like, how did they pull this off? Like, it's actually every time there's like a type of media that just blows me away. I wonder how did you do this? How did you write this? How did you plot this out? How did you execute it? Like, it's just I feel the same way with The Expanse. Like, once you get into like season 2, even season 3, you'll wonder how they pulled that off. And I felt the same way about Hunter x Hunter. But so y'all should check that out.
yeah. So, thanks for talking about this movie. I've always wanted to talk about. So,
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited we finally got down to it.
yeah, and if you guys like listening to us, you can also find us on our YouTube channel,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube/ Parking Lot Podcast, and then we're
Mm-hmm.
also on iTunes/
Yep.
Parking Lot Podcast,
Yep.
and yeah, we're trying to be. We're also on Twitter too, but that's not being used that much.
Parking Lot Pod. I think that's the Twitter handle.
Yeah,
Yep.
and there's some projects that you're working on right now too, right?
You can check out my podcast with my friend Christina. It's excuse me. It's called the uh, Staff Turnover Podcast. Yeah, it's like this, except we don't talk about any real topic. We just rant until the time runs out, and that's really it. So it's a very stream of consciousness type podcast. Um, Maybe one day we'll bring back my other podcast, Film at First Sight, which I do with my friend Kat. So check that out, Film at First Sight, and that's really it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being on the show, and
Thank you.
we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.